Hey everybody, Chris Bayless here from the Sponsorship Collective, coming at you with another video on all things sponsorship. The topic of this one are the 5 worst sponsorship misconceptions. There are a ton of misconceptions about sponsorship out there, frankly, that are preventing you, the rights holder, the sponsorship seeker, from achieving your goals. I hear them constantly, but I want to address 5 that drive me a bit crazy, and I think are costing you the most money. Misconception number 1, that sponsorship is shrinking. Let me say this as clearly as I can. Sponsorship is not shrinking. I find that those who believe sponsorship is shrinking are in fact not practicing sponsorship. They're either shotgunning gold, silver, bronze sponsorship packages at the door, which is a really terrible practice. Obviously, I've written and spoken a lot about this practice. Or they're engaged in corporate philanthropy and calling it sponsorship because they put a logo on something. First of all, those are not, I would say you're not practicing sponsorship if you engage in either of those approaches. But sponsorship as a marketing discipline is not shrinking. Sponsorship is a $60 billion a year worldwide industry. In North America, it's $20 billion a year. According to Sponsorship Landscape Study and ESP Properties, it's also growing at over 4%. For my Canadian friends, it's almost $2 billion a year and growing at 13%, or at least it did last year. In other words, sponsorship is booming. It's a humongous industry. And if your experience is anything other than growth, then I would argue that you're not actually practicing sponsorship. So sponsorship is not shrinking. Misconception number 2, that there's something called sponsors, that sponsors exist. Let me tell you something. There is no such thing as sponsors. Sponsors do not exist. There are companies who exist, and those companies exist to make money. And they will use sponsorship in order to achieve their goals, right? It could be making money. It could be building the brand. It could be introducing a new product. It could be employee engagement. It could be any number of things, but sponsors don't exist. Businesses exist and they use marketing, they use sponsorship, they use sales in order to achieve their goals. So the question, what do sponsors want, or what are sponsors trying to achieve, is a non-starter right out of the gate. There are companies who exist who are trying to achieve a particular outcome, and we can use sponsorship to help them achieve that outcome. Misconception number 3, that sponsorship and philanthropy are the same thing, and that companies are just doing the right thing for the community by investing in sponsorship. Again, I covered this really in the previous misconception, but it's worth talking about this particular erroneous line of thinking. Sponsorship and philanthropy are not the same. Thinking that describing your mission and your vision to a company in order to get them to invest in what you're trying to achieve as a charity in exchange for some logo placement does not make it sponsorship. So the belief that sponsorship and philanthropy are the same is a significant misconception and a costly one in the cause sponsorship space. Misconception number 4, that sponsorship is a product. That sponsorship is this thing you buy, that a company wakes up one morning, or a marketing person wakes up one morning and says, I have to go out and buy some sponsorships. That's not the case. Sponsorship is a verb. Sponsorship is an activity that companies engage in order to achieve their goals. Sponsorship as a verb lets companies borrow from the entire marketing spectrum, from advertising to product placement to experiential to communications to sales to digital, social media. The entire spectrum of marketing is available to you through the practice of sponsorship. Now, when we focus on logo placement as the only expression of sponsorship, we're actually stuck in just the advertising space, which means that you're really leaving the overwhelming majority of what's available to you through sponsorship. So sponsorship is not a thing you buy. It is not a gold package with 12 different assets and then silver with 8 and bronze with 4. That is not sponsorship. Sponsorship is the act of reaching across the entire marketing spectrum, the entire sales spectrum, and taking what you need in order to give your prospect, your sponsor, that company, the outcome thereafter. Misconception number 5, that the sponsorship package matters, that the sponsorship package is important, that a sponsorship package is necessary. None of that is true. The biggest sponsorship deals that I've personally worked on, that I've personally sold, major high 7-figure national, international sponsorship deals, never had a sponsorship package at all. The sponsorship package is something that you can use to describe an agreement already in place, already negotiated. But the sponsorship package is not where sponsorship starts. The sponsorship package is an outcome. It's not the starting place. So if you're making a sponsorship package, it's essential that you do it with your prospect, with the sponsor, with the company, and that you only include exactly the things that they want. But I would challenge you to have as many meetings as you can with a prospect without a sponsorship package or a one-pager or any sales material, any supporting material, until they explicitly request that you submit a proposal. So the sponsorship package, I would argue, is unquestionably the least important part of the sponsorship sales process. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Bayless from the Sponsorship Collective. And remember, the sponsorship package doesn't make the sale. You do. Good luck out there.